On today's podcast, we're looking at results from a recent Gallup study around what people want in a leader, and I'll provide my insights on how I see these traits playing out in teams and organizations across industries.
Welcome back to The Thermostat with Jason Barger. If you're currently on a commute, a walk, or just a micro break in your day, glad you're making time to step back, to think, and to reflect on the next steps on your journey. I've never been more convinced the best leaders and team cultures in the world are the ones that make time to step back, breathe in good oxygen, and calibrate their thermostat. I hope today's conversation leaves you feeling grounded and inspired. Now let's dive into today's topic to engage our minds and hearts in order to authentically lead and create compelling cultures wherever we are in the world.
Hey everyone, it's Jason, and welcome back to the Thermostat Podcast. Wherever you are, however you're coming to the podcast today, welcome in. So glad you are here. We're in Season 9, over 300 episodes now. So if you're new to the podcast, so glad you're here. So glad this continues to grow and spread in exciting ways. All you have to do, Google my name, Jason Barger, whatever topic you're looking for as it relates to leadership, culture, accountability, trust, mindset, communication, whatever it is, and you're going to find something in these 300 episodes that will get you engaged and get you jumping in, or you can just jump in right where you are. But there's so many great episodes of the past, so many great conversations I've been fortunate to have with friends and thought leaders from around the world. So I invite you to go back and check those out. If you are one of the folks that have been with us from the very beginning, then so glad this continues to add value to your life and your work. My commitment to you, every time I record one of these, I want this to be a place for you to be able to step back, have some good oxygen breathed into you, and take time to think about the temperature that you're trying to set in your life and your work. And so I'll continue to do that the best that I can. Before we start with today's episode, if you'll do me the quick favor, of course, rate the podcast 5 stars on whatever platform you're using. If you'll leave an authentic review in your own words, that always helps the algorithms continue to find new people that are looking for something like this. And obviously, if you haven't subscribed, do that too, of course. But share the podcast with anybody in your network, whether it's authentic for you on social media. Hey, this episode resonated with me, or with your colleagues at work. Let's listen to this topic and then talk about it as a team. All of those ways help amplify these messages, and I appreciate everybody that takes a moment to do that. Thank you so much, and excited for today's episode. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We often talk about the characteristics of leaders needed in the world today. On this podcast, we've talked about the 7 characteristics of 21st century leadership that I refer to. I've shared my own anecdotal experiences around the world, asking people and asking audiences to describe the most compelling, influential, and exceptional leaders that they've experienced in their lives. There are always, commonalities around the type of leader they describe, and also great clarity on the type of leader that is a turnoff to them. It's been fascinating to ask that question to audiences and people all over the world for many years now. Defining what we mean by the word leadership is important because I believe that how we think about it and what it means to lead will impact every room we walk into, every meeting we are a part of, how we approach the people and the work we do. All depends on how we see and think about what it actually means in our minds to lead. And as I've often said, if we see leadership as being on top of the pyramid, if that's the image we see is that a leader is at the top of the pyramid, and what it means to lead is to bark out orders and use power and control to get people to do what you want them to, if that's what we think it means to lead, then that is how we'll show up to the people around us. But when I've asked, I've tried to sit down and estimate the tens and thousands of people around the globe. At one point estimated 70 to 80,000 people around the globe that I've been fortunate enough to ask that question to, audiences and people. I've asked them to describe the most compelling, influential, and exceptional leaders that they've seen, they've, experienced, they've witnessed, they've been around. They give an opposite image than that top of the pyramid leader. In fact, the image that I see is a person who flips that pyramid upside down and serves a mission greater than themselves and coaches people rather than controls them. How we see leadership impacts how we show up to the people around us. How we think about it impacts how we show up to the people around us, the meetings, the way we approach what we do. So it's important to find clarity on how we articulate a compelling leader in the world today. And it's also interesting to ask followers what they want in a leader. From the perspective of someone on a team or a part of an organization or a movement, what traits do they want in a leader? So, on today's podcast, we're looking at results from a recent Gallup study around what people want in a leader, and I'll provide my insights on how I see these traits playing out in teams and organizations across industries. But before we dive deeper, let's pause, take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Hey everyone, I want to take a quick minute just to remind you about one of my favorite days of the year that is coming up on Friday, November 7th, 2025, for Thermostat Cultures Live. This is a powerful day of development that I host and an opportunity for us all to step back, take a deep breath, and calibrate our thermostats for the road ahead in our own leadership roles, our lives, and certainly with the cultures that we are creating. This year, it's a hybrid event, and there are limited seats available for the in-person VIP experience in Columbus, Ohio. That's right, it's a really cool in-person VIP experience in Columbus, Ohio, as well as there are online virtual seats available for those who want to engage from a remote location. As always, I'll be joined by amazing thought leaders from around the globe, and it'll be a day you won't want to miss. Friday, November 7th, 2025. So visit thermostatcultureslive.com, thermostatcultureslive.com to learn more and to reserve your seat or seats for your entire team. New Gallup research highlights 4 needs or traits that people across the globe say they need in a leader. The article is authored by John Clifton and Benedict Viggers, and we'll put a link in the show notes so that you can read their whole article and see the research yourself. On this podcast, I'm going to just acknowledge the 4 traits they identified in their research and bring my commentary based on what I'm seeing within teams and organizations from my perspective, from my angle of vision. As we know, leadership is not all about authority. In fact, it's not about authority. But what are the characteristics of leaders that makes followers trust and want to help support them? So Gallup set out on a research study across 52 countries and territories and asked what they said. They estimated 76% of the adult population in those areas to list three words to describe the leader who has contributed most in their life. What are 3 words that would describe that person that has contributed most in their life? And the top 4 traits fell into these themes around these 4 characteristics that I'm going to share today based on their research, again, across all these countries and territories and all these people, simply asking them, hey, of these people that you've, have impacted your life as leaders, what are those attributes or those characteristics, those traits that you most want as a follower? What do you want in a leader? And here's what they came up with. The results were, the first one was hope. Hope. This was easily the most dominant theme in their research. At 56% of the answers of the people said what they want as a follower and a leader, what they want is they want hope. Now, my take on this is this. People want to believe in the future that you are creating together, and they want to believe in the direction that you're heading. If the vision for where you as a team, as an organization, as a family, as a relationship, whatever that may be, is the way you're thinking about it, if it's got to be clear. And if it isn't clear, or they don't believe it, in where you're heading, or that that we're going in a helpful direction, then hope begins to dwindle. People want to be hopeful about the future, where they are going, and what they are creating and contributing along the way. And what I've seen within leaders, teams, and organizations, hope is a powerful spirit when it's present that compels people. When people are hopeful about the future, hopeful about what we're creating together, hopeful that it's leading to, good places and important for people's lives, there's energy that comes from that. But when it's missing, and there's a lack of meaning and purpose begins to permeate throughout the culture, and it starts to just be work instead of something that kind of galvanizes people and gets them excited about the future that they're creating. So hope was the number one answer. At 56% of the people said that's what they want in a leader. That's what they want. Characteristics and followers need in a leader is hope. The second answer, trust. Trust was the second highest answer provided by followers around the world at 33%. Not surprising, since we live and work in such low trusting environments right now across the world. Gallup also declared recently, if you saw this research that came out by them, that employee engagement has reached a 10-year low across organizations. I did a whole podcast about this kind of concept too, that this research is saying that employee engagement reached a 10-year low. And also part of their research was that only 23% of employees say they trust their leaders and the future direction of where they're headed, which again also leads to a lack of hope that we talked about in the first one. So my take on this, you've heard that on many episodes that I've done on this topic of trust on this podcast, and if you didn't hear those, go back and check them out. Just type in my name and trust and you'll see a whole lot of things. But trust is an outcome based on the day-to-day interactions that we barter back and forth with each other in all our relationships, let alone leader and team member dynamics. We're always either building trust or deteriorating trust with the people around us, depending on whether there is congruence between our words and our actions. The best leaders know that they can't just bark out orders or directions, but they have the opportunity to build trust with their people by moving beyond kind of transactional relationships and building trust through the ways they communicate, the way they listen, they ask questions, and they share information transparently. Trust is built over time and is the outgrowth of that congruence between our words and our actions. Have you heard me also talk about part of this in building trust? And I've done episodes, again, all on this topic of how do we have and how are we willing to have courageous conversations. What we find is leaders and people that build up the ability to have courageous conversations in effective ways. Again, go back and listen to the episode where we talk about effective ways to have courageous conversations. But when they're the leaders that are willing to talk about challenges, willing to identify the things, hey, there's something we need to be talking about that we aren't talking about. Actually, when we do those in an effective way where it's a two-way street and the leader is also listening and has built that relationship and built up that level of trust already, earned the right to have that courageous conversation, what we find is leaders that are able and willing to have those courageous conversations, trust actually goes up. So trust isn't just about, being nice or kind or just getting people to like you. It's about listening and having a direction and having expectations and goals, working together on something beside each other, and willing to have those courageous conversations when things aren't meeting the standards. And actually, when we do that in effective ways, trust goes up. So hope and trust are connected, and those are the first two traits that all these people identified that they want in a leader. The second two, or the last of the top four, I mean, there were many more traits that came out of this study, but I'm just identifying the top four. The third one was compassion. Compassion was the third highest rank answer at 7%. Again, there were a whole lot of traits that people identified, but these were the top four that were identified. And it's not a shocker, but people want to feel and know that their leaders care about them and show compassion and empathy for their situation. My take on this is people want leaders who actively seek out to understand their situation and also actively ask others their point of view, their perspectives, their feelings as they arrive at solutions together. When a lack of compassion and empathy is felt, back to trust actually goes down. When we see that people start to feel like their leader doesn't listen to them, isn't interested in their point of view, isn't building that relationship in a caring way, trust goes down. So compassion and this empathy is a really important piece of the puzzle. And the last trait that they identified in this large study that followers said they want in a leader is stability. Lastly, stability came in as the fourth highest ranked answer in the research at 4%. My take on this is this, especially in the world we're living in today. If people don't feel physically and psychologically safe, trust goes down immediately. People don't want leaders who are a roller coaster of emotions day in and day out. That's also really clear when I talk to teams and organizations all over the world. They want authentic and real humans that are willing to be vulnerable. But more days than not, they are consistent in their action and their behavior for their people. The followers, they aren't surprised by their actions. They set the same temperature day in and day out. And even when challenges and crises hit, the followers already have a great understanding and belief in the temperature that the leader is going to set, because there's this kind of stability that gets baked into the environment. When people feel safe and stable, better work and more satisfaction across the culture arrives. So we see this research around hope, trust, compassion, and stability, and we say to ourselves, these are all things that are within our control and what people are saying they want, but also leading to the fact that this helps us create higher performing and better cultures that people want to be a part of. And what we know is culture shaping matters more than ever within organizations. I'm seeing this play out in organizations right now, and that these types of traits are needed to be developed in their leaders, as well as conversations throughout their cultures about developing these levels of trust. Fortunately, more relationships, more teams, more organizations are realizing that this won't just happen magically. It's going to have to be led and co-created by all. Cultures don't just magically happen. They're intentionally led and shaped by everybody within the cultural ecosystem. So, which means that we have the opportunity to commit to a journey of culture shaping. I talk about the 6A process in my book, Thermostat Cultures, about the process that we go through to lead change in many of the organizations that I support, and we work through a process together to be intentional about that culture shaping that we want and the future that we're trying to create together. Culture shaping isn't a drive-through experience, and the best teams commit to coming back together over the long haul to continue to align, clear up the vision, develop their thinking, acting, and interacting, and calibrate their own thermostats. And then it's amazing how intentional the culture begins to feel, those relationships between leaders and the people within the teams. And oh, by the way, the results, the performance tends to follow. So as always, let me leave you with a couple of questions to ponder along the way. In what ways could you provide hope for the people around you? What could you do to help build trust with the people in your life and your work? And how could you show compassion and provide stability for those around you? Cheers to you. Cheers to all of us on the path ahead. I hope this episode resonated with you, got you thinking, breathed some good oxygen into you. Hopefully, you began to think about this. But if you have any thoughts, feedback, ideas, You can always email us, info@jasonvbarger.com, or you can track us down through the jasonvbarger.com website. There's a place where you can just fill out a quick form and say, hey, here's something I want to connect with you on. Certainly, if we can be support to your team, your organization, in developing people, culture, clarity, any of this stuff, please contact us. And again, thanks for everybody who subscribes, rates, reviews, shares the messages that resonate with you, with others in your life and your work, and help to amplify these messages further. Cheers to you and on the path ahead. And the last thing I'll remind all of us of is to step back, remember, be a thermostat, and breathe good oxygen.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast, and I hope the messages and questions stimulate positive change along your path. As always, if these messages resonate with you and add value to your life, I hope you'll help amplify them throughout the world. Please rate, comment, and share on whatever podcast or social media platform you're using, and share this podcast with the people in your life or work who should be part of these conversations. That way, this spirit does, in fact, spread. If these messages or developing leaders and culture would be helpful to you and your organization, please contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. And remember, we are all ambassadors for the culture we want to create in our life and work. We have to own the vision we want to be a part of. The future of leadership is you, is me, is us. Be a thermostat.